Good morning, everyone. I am here live today to explain the next portion of how to cure prejudice. And I need to, this is part 2 of the causes of prejudice and how to cure it. And something interesting about how to cure it is something that critical race theory is actually doing currently in trying to cure prejudice. You can't eradicate prejudice, number one, as I told you before. But this is what you could do yourself to cure prejudice. You can't get over your prejudice, but it won't be easy to do. But it is possible that you can entirely, it is possible, but you can't entirely eliminate it. But you can escape from its grosser manifestation. Success in learning is determined by emotional tone drive. You must have an emotional drive to be open-minded. That is the key to curing prejudice. You must be open-minded. So develop a picture in yourself, if you are biased, of unreasonable, ineffective, harming others, or yourself. Okay? King George III was such a person He was very prejudiced back in the day. And one of the reasons why we had the American Rebellion, the War of 1776, and we won. Britain didn't want to acknowledge the war, which it lasted all the way up to 1812. And then they finally acknowledged that we were independent. But King George III was unreasonable, ineffective. He harmed others and himself. Now, develop a picture of yourself like Benjamin Franklin. He was a clear thinker. He was well respected. He gave credit to himself and helped others too. Okay? Now develop a drive for reading. Yep. And the best books to read and give over to your children are Usborne Books and More. Really good works. We have the best works of the entire world. So if you haven't given your kids Usborne Books and More, you're not giving them the best. But develop this drive for reading really good works, which portray the harmful effects of bias and that teach you about the advantages of reason. I will share when you hire me to host your party, I will share which opinions you ought to study in order to make sure that they are not prejudiced. But as long as you have people are going to be opinionated. And that is one of the reasons we have the First Amendment. We have freedom of speech and expression. And that right is absolute and comes from God, just from being. It does not come from government. Government does not give you a right to speak. We have that right to speak because it's our inalienable right, and it is our right because we are just human. We come from God. We are created equal in His image. Examine those opinions that you hold and make a special inquiry when you see a view that regards matters such as property, family, religion, education, the state, and international relations. My dog is doing something and I can hear him. Question views that carry skepticism. to an unreasonable degree. So it's okay to be skeptical. Like, we're all skeptical, especially once you develop your reasoning skills. You'll develop a good, healthy skepticism. But question those that go far beyond the reasonable. Okay? And then follow these steps to uncover prejudice. Okay? This is it. So follow these steps when you discover opinions that are biased. First, try to remember a time where you were inspired by an opinion. Note where you got that inspiration. Was it from any social influence that has cited as bias? Was there any bias in that predisposed you to favor that opinion? Find a discussion group of diverse ideas. Really hard to do right now on social media because they are censoring diverse groups of ideas. So some ideas on social media are okay and not others. So it will make you think if you have a diverse group of ideas, different ideas from your own. Prejudice is created by the conditioning of response. And right now they're conditioning us to a certain response on social media. The problem of eliminating an unconditioning response is this. Disuse will remove prejudice. Talk about the object of prejudice to change that habit. And a really good book is Atomic Habit, which talks about sort of the same thing. How to change the habit, certain habits that you have. Apply frequently the stimulus. Social factors that contribute to prejudice. Making fun of the prejudice. Change by association. And change by association is not recommended. Because, as my grandfather used to say, dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. This has a danger. The association may infect you, but it all depends on your relative power of resistance of members of two or more groups in that association. So it all depends on you to be able to resist that association's power. My grandfather used to say, dime con quién anda y te diré quién eres. Tell me who you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are. One of the most effective ways to removing the prejudice is by the process of identification. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes is conditioning one's emotion. The other method of removing prejudice is, and this one is the one that CRT is doing, by reversing the process by which prejudice is created. This is what it means by equity. Equity, critical race theory. They are trying to reverse the process of prejudice. Prejudice, remember, prejudice is a response to a conditioned stimulus caused by having a pleasant or unpleasant idea become associated in the mind with the stimuli which were naturally neutral. For example, Trump. The idea of Trump being a bully, which really, it's Facebook. It's really social media. They're really the bullies. Not Trump. The bullies are big tech. Okay? So the idea of a bully becomes attached to Trump. This idea must be detached, which was illogically assumed. or associated. This is a process to how you change your mind. We know that at the beginning of 2016, people had intense hatred for Donald Trump or for Hillary. That's why the middle ground was, a lot of people voted for the middle. People can safely infer that he also had a keen respect for business, good businessmen, especially men who acquired wealth by real estate and who were tenacious and hardworking. At the start, people hated politicians, primarily businessmen like Trump. Presently, in light of the pleasant phases of his existence with them, people came to like Trump after seeing the horrors and the failed impeachment of President Trump and the investigation into colluding with Russia, which wasn't really Trump's colluding. He didn't get impeached for collusion. He got impeached for Ukraine. But also admired his strength. Here is how you can attack your own prejudice. Let's assume you have an intellectual drive to become open-minded. When you're open-minded, you're tolerant and have added to it an emotionally toned drive which makes us eager to attain truth, even at the expense of somewhat painful mental adjustments, like being censored on social media. To bring about tolerance or approval, you develop this gradually by associating with the object of aversion under pleasant conditions, so that you become satisfied little by little, and that satisfaction is transferred to the object of prejudice. Read good literature, like Usborne Books and More. Go k4699.myubam.com and shop for some books for your kids that make strong arguments, valid and sound arguments. The very best works. One who delights in careful scientific reasoning. We can be acquainted with intelligent and personably likable opponents with whom we can discuss a controversial subject. We can be acquainted with intelligent and personally likable opponents with whom we can discuss a controversial subject, trying to understand their view fully. This greatly favors my internet goes off. I hate it when it does that. If there is a serious meeting of, so this greatly favors tolerance and open-mindedness. If there is a serious meeting on the subject, attend it so that you hear the view that you reject. And I think that's about it. And I can't believe that I had something pop up in my screen. Finicky. Anyways, so in order to change, to cure your prejudice, read good books. I love great books and great authors who are intelligent and personally likable. Okay, like Mark Levin. I love Ben Shapiro. I think he's personally likable. And he's very highly intelligent. He was a Harvard grad, just like Obama. So, Harvard doesn't spit out idiots. Although they do spit out useful idiots. The one that I love is journalistic writing. And in this book, I just learned that what it takes to be a journalist. It doesn't take schooling to be a journalist. You just need to write and keep writing and practice and keep doing it until you get it right. Just takes experience. And I have like this little net flying around. Anyways, go to my website, k4699.myubam.com. And if you want help in picking the good books that are right for your family, please host a party and let me share some really good books with you. Usborne Books and More is the world's best children's book publishing company in the whole entire world. We have only the best books, and we choose among the best authors for your children. So remember, Usborne Books and More for really good books. And host your party with me so that I share with you how you can cure racism. Not racism, prejudice, bias. America has no racism. Remember that, okay? We're not a racist nation. But we do have people who are prejudiced and intolerant. Let me show you how to cure it. Thank you. Until next time. Next up, logic.